Hey guys, so I'm Joanna from Custom Quilts, and I'm really excited about my Moroccan Tiles quilt pattern that's releasing, and I hope you guys are as excited as I am. So I got some templates made up to make putting this quilt together a little bit easier, and I think you're going to be really jazzed about these templates. They're so awesome. These are exactly the same as the templates that are provided with your pattern. They're just not paper. So you don't have to buy the acrylic templates, but they're really nice. If you would like to get them, you can totally do it with the paper ones. That's how I've made all of my quilts up to this point. But I'm going to tell you a benefit of these templates. They have little drilled out holes in the seam allowance, and these are the reference points to help you pin accurately. So all of these little reference points line up and they match insanely perfect. So I'm going to show you, this is one that I marked the reference points on both pieces, template 1 and template 2. I matched them and then I slid a pin through the reference point and like it's ready to go to the sewing machine. Another really good thing about this is if you plan on fussy cutting and using a stripe or some sort of directional print, and you want to be able to see where your seam allowance placement is going to be, there's an etched line 1/4 inch in on your templates all the way around, and this represents your seam allowance. So that's kind of a visible reminder of where your sewing lines are going to be at all times. It's really nice. Another really good thing is if you're not using the paper templates, well, let me tell you if you are. I'm sorry to say that it's going to take you a little bit longer with the paper printed templates. And the reason for that is you can't exactly quickly guide a rotary cutter around a piece of paper while you're cutting fabric, because you're going to end up trimming away part of the paper. And so with these acrylic templates, all you need to do is take a rotary cutter. I like to use a 28mm. Oh my gosh, that was open. Keep your rotary cutters closed until you're ready to use them. Good safety to remember. But so this is a 28mm rotary cutter, and this is a 45. This is typically the standard that you'll see a lot of people using. For curves, it's best to use a 28mm because it curves, or it hugs the curves a little bit easier than a 45. So you can use it, but it's going to take you a little more time and kind of defeat the purpose of the time-saving templates. So I'm going to show you, I'll be demonstrating with a 28mm here in just a second. So you can fussy cut. They're quicker because you don't have to print the paper template, cut it out, trace each template on your fabric, and then either use scissors or a rotary cutter to go back and cut your pieces out. So it's basically taking you twice as long with the paper, which is okay. It's totally doable because that's how I did it. But the acrylic just saves you a little bit of time. One other tip with these templates is they kind of like to slide around on the fabric really easily, which can be good, I guess, for some things, but I like them to stay put, and you can buy all kinds of notions that will help your rulers stay put and not slide. But I find the most cost-effective is to get some glitter washi tape, and it just has a slightly raised texture to it. It's not crazy, anything crazy. But it kind of reminds me of like a really fine grit sandpaper, which would probably work really good, but we don't want sandpaper on our fabric, right? So if I can just find the end of this. I always like to put a couple of pieces away from my seam line because that may be something I need to see. And this is going to decrease the transparency. I mean, you can't see through washi tape. But so I just like to put a couple pieces on the back of my template so they don't slide around. Just like that. And so you can see it's a lot harder to slide whenever I have those back there. I believe this is Scotch brand, but I'm sure you can get any brand that has that raised texture and it'll work just fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how to use these with a rotary cutter. And first I'm going to use template 1 so you can kind of see the transparency. And so I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to hold my template and just cut these real quick and carefully. And when you're using your rotary cutter, always be super careful. Exercise all of the safety precautions that you need to use when you're using a rotary cutter. And so just real easy glides on that curve. Okay, so we've got our template 1 cut out, and so now I'm going to show you how to mark the reference holes. And this is really simple. You can either do this while you're cutting out, or you can cut everything out in batches and then, you know, take them to the couch and chill and watch Netflix or something like that. But you're going to want a writing utensil that has a fine point. So this friction pin is really great. This one is not so great. So if you see the two and compare them, the green pin has a much thicker tip to it, and it doesn't fit through these holes to mark the fabric very well. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to use the thinner friction pin to mark my reference points. And you just want to make sure that your template is lined up perfectly on your fabric. And then you've got your 5 reference points already done. So now I've got a white piece of fabric that I'm going to use to cut out template 2. So we line up our fabric right where we want it. And I tell you what, this glitter washi tape is like a life changer. Okay, cut the curve. Cut the straight lines. I need to change my rotary cutter blade, guys. Okay, so there we've got our nice template 2 cut out, and I'm going to go ahead and line that back up with the fabric and mark my reference points on my curves. Oh my gosh, look how nice that is, right? So we're going to put our templates to the side, and I'm going to grab my pin cushion, and we're going to line these up. And I always like to pin from the template 1 side. I don't know why. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but I find it a little bit easier. So just maybe try both ways, and the way that you like the best, go with that. So we've got our little pin intersections. We're going to line those up and pin the fabrics together. So I like to stick the pin through both holes and then go back and match them up and pin. Like that. And I like to go do the opposite ends first, which you don't have to do. You can do it however you're comfortable with. And then pin the center. So put the pin through, match those guys up, just like that. And then you keep pinning until your piece looks like this. So that's really nice. And then just take it to the sewing machine, run a 1/4 inch seam on it, and you're good to go.